Welcome to my channel. This time we will recap the storyline of the Korean drama Gangnam B-Side. This drama is set in the background of the police who eradicate drugs, but behind it there seems to be a conspiracy over the disappearance of several people in Gangnam. Let's start in episodes 1 and 2 of the Korean drama Gangnam B-Side. Dongwoo and his team try to break into a nightclub and his police friend comes and asks Dongwoo not to force his way in. But Dongwoo still goes in and arrests some people who are partying for violating the narcotics law. His friend who previously forbade him also comes and tells Dongwoo to stop and leave there. But Dongwoo feels something is suspicious and he searches another place. It turns out that there is someone carrying a suitcase containing drugs and he is a police officer named Django. When interrogated, he asks Dongwoo not to get involved because everyone in the crime division is involved. But Dongwoo is not afraid. He actually reveals the disgrace in the police and arrests one of his police friends. 3 years later, a woman enters a hidden room, which turns out to lead to the nightclub. She gave something to the man and it was drugs. The man took drugs until he was high and he got a message to catch Jenny. But because he was high, he didn't read the message, instead Jenny read it. Jenny went to the toilet and hid herself to wake up. She took the cell phone she hid in the toilet and then called Yoonghwa. She told Yoonghwa to wake up and get out of there because they were in danger. Then she tried to escape from the thugs. Yoonghwa was caught and there was no video. They were looking for on Jungwa's cell phone, but Jenny managed to escape from their pursuit. It turned out that the video was on Jenny's cell phone. What was actually in the video? Yoon Gil-ho was at a bar. He found one of his girls using drugs, then he took her out. He beat up the drug dealer who gave drugs to his girls. He then warned him not to sell drugs to his girls again. Gil-ho's friend, who was outside the nightclub, heard the conversation of the thugs who were looking for Jenny. He called Gil-ho and when they met, he told him that there seemed to be a problem because people were looking for Jae-hee, or commonly called Jenny. Jae-hee kept the cell phone in a storage cabinet. Then she hid in a building that contained arcade games and Gil-ho was there too. After the incident, 3 years ago, Dongwoo was transferred to a rural area. At that time there was a small accident between a rich man and an old man. The police who handled it were shocked to see Dongwoo there. He asked Dongwoo to leave because they were already at peace. But Dongwoo felt something was suspicious because the man looked arrogant. He checked his car trunk and sure enough, there were drugs hidden. When the man got angry and fought Dongwoo, he was beaten back by Dongwoo. Dongwoo told the police to take him to the police station. Commissioner Moon came to see Dongwoo. He invited Dongwoo to chat alone. He thought Dongwoo would go crazy after being transferred to the countryside, but he was wrong because Dongwoo survived quite well. Then he gave him documents about the missing person case in Gangnam. He was worried that the police would be blamed for not working well, therefore maybe Dongwoo could be their secret mainstay. He asked Dongwoo to return to Gangnam so that the case could be solved. But Dongwoo felt he couldn't do that. The commissioner knew that Dongwoo was worried that his police friends would get involved again and he would become isolated and alienated. And when he sat at his desk, he got a call that his daughter was hospitalized.
예? 무슨 일인데요?
It turned out that his daughter was getting therapy at a mental hospital. While in therapy she felt restless and banged her head on the desk. The doctor knew that her parents were busy, but she needed more attention. For someone who had committed suicide, the next attempt could be easier. While holding her hand, Dongwoo saw a strange tattoo on his daughter's hand. It turned out that Dongwoo and his wife had separated and all this time his daughter was with his wife. His wife told him that his daughter often bullied by girls and they manipulate his daughter, Yeseo. Gil-ho is still curious why people are chasing Jae-hee. But Jae-hee doesn't give an explanation to Gil-ho, she instead asks Gil-ho to look for Yoonghwa. She is very worried if something happens to Yoonghwa. Then Gil-ho asks Jae-hee to turn off her cell phone and not go anywhere, then he will look for Yoonghwa.
꼭 데려와야 돼.
Dongwoo picks up Yeseo from the hospital. When her father asks her to eat, Yeseo doesn't want to. She just wants to look for her friend, Jae-hee, because she has been missing for weeks. Yeseo is afraid that something will happen to her, but according to her father it is normal for people like her to disappear. Yeseo feels that her father doesn't care about her because he cruel talk like that about her friend. Her father is confused why Yeseo is looking for her. Is there something her father doesn't know? Yeseo replied that she needs Jae-hee to leave.
그냥
A year ago, Dongwoo had met Jae-hee. Yeseo introduced Jae-hee as her best friend and she asked them to talk. Then Dongwoo asked what she really needed help from him. Did she cause trouble? Hearing that, Jae-hee felt unhappy because Woo said she had a problem. She asked Dongwoo not to pretend to understand, or did Dongwoo not understand? She felt that Dongwoo didn't even care what happened to people like her. Jae-hee actually told Dongwoo to treat her daughter well. But Dongwoo felt that Jae-hee was just blackmailing her daughter by bullying Yeseo. Jae-hee felt that it was useless to talk to Yeseo's father because he didn't help her at all. Dongwoo came to the police station where he used to work. He went there to ask his old colleague for help to find data about Jae-hee. When she saw Jae-hee's tattoo, she remembered the people they arrested because of the dark web. Even though they were free, they still committed illegal acts. Now they are installing hidden cameras in clubs, bars, and toilets in Gangnam. And there is a recording in the toilet of a girl who has the same tattoo as Jae-hee. Then there was a man carrying the girl, and when outside the building, there was also another girl waiting and Dongwoo recognized her. She was Jae-hee. Not only Jae-hee, he also recognized Gil-ho, who was released 3 years ago because he thought he was a driver who drove his client. Gil-ho met a man who had driven Yoonghwa to nightclub. Because he didn't want to answer, Gil-ho hit him and he then answered that Yoonghwa was at the Grand Business Hotel. Gil-ho should hurry because the event was underway. It turned out that Yoonghwa was invited to a hotel room that contained several men. She was very scared when a man came who was wearing snakeskin shoes. They seemed to be having a drug party and Yoonghwa was in the bathtub dying. And it turned out that Gil-ho was there with blood on his hands. The cleaning service came to the hotel and entered the room where Yoonghwa died. The workers started cleaning up the blood stains and drink stains, but they didn't find Jungwoo's body. They panicked because it seemed like they were there to clean up the mess that happened earlier. No, Junseo is a celebrity, he has a behavioral disorder. While in the car, he was called by his subordinate, Saiki, that Jungwoo's body was gone. Junseo didn't want to know, he asked Saiki to look for Jae-hee. It turned out that when he was in a mess, he consumed drugs so he could appear good in front of his fans. A woman found Jungwoo's body, which was placed at the subway station. And that's when Dongwoo returned to the police in Gangnam. The case of the discovery of the body became their topic and Dongwoo immediately wanted to solve the case. But his new partner couldn't tell him about their investigation. So, he would appreciate it if Dongwoo kept quiet and didn't get in the way. Dongwoo met his subordinate who he had arrested for being involved in drugs, Kim Jang-go. Now he runs an alcohol and women's business in Gangnam. He was forced to do that business because can no longer be a policeman. Dongwoo go there to find some girls. Of course, Jang-go was unwilling to help him, But then Dongwoo threatened him with the case he did. Inevitably, he was willing to cooperate.
어떤 아들 사는데요.
They asked Django's acquaintance if he knew Gil-ho. He replied that Gil-ho was a famous pimp. But he didn't know where Gil-ho was, even though many people were looking for him after the discovery of the body at Gangnam Station. Gil-ho also had 2 expert girls among his girls and one of them died, so what was his action? And the other girl is Jae-hee, or known as Jenny. He said only rich people can meet Jae-hee.
인생 조질 일 있게?
Gil-ho's friend gives some money and a cell phone to Gil-ho. He is worried about what Gil-ho will do, because the whole Gangnam is in chaos because of him. So, he asks Gil-ho to compromise and just give them what they ask for, because they are looking for Jae-hee. Gil-ho can't act like that, because Yoonhwa died. So, he will hide Jae-hee, while he will look for the bastards who touched his girl. His friend feels that it is a dangerous action and Gil-ho could die. But Gil-ho tells him not to worry, because he still has a debt that he has to pay. Gil-ho meets Saiki. He thinks he will meet No Junseo there too. But according to Saiki, it is not that easy to meet celebrities. He only gives a message to Gil-ho that he wants Gil-ho to bring Jenny to him. Gil-ho feels that he is being played and then he hits Saiki with a baseball bat. Saiki feels that this is Gil-ho's chance, because if Gil-ho brings Jenny, he will pay whatever. Gil-ho will say himself how much he wants, so arrange a meeting with Junseo. After meeting Gil-ho, Saiki also meets Junseo. He says that Gil-ho received his message, and they plan to take Jenny and the video recording. After that they will finish off Gil-ho and Jenny. Junseo agrees with the idea. Jae-hee sees the news about Jangwoo's death, then she looks for a way to get out of the room. Prosecutor Min sees CCTV footage of a man carrying Jangwoo's body to the subway station. It appears that the man is Yoon Gil-ho. She then submits a report to her superior, Prosecutor Tak, that the one caught on camera is Yoon Gil-ho, aged 45. Only he is an unlisted suspect. His tracks are the most with the missing people. Prosecutor Tak then decides Gil-ho as the perpetrator and the case is closed. Prosecutor Min is a bit surprised because he doesn't want to check the others. Prosecutor Tak says that the prosecution will join the Seoul Police Department's major crimes. So just make a good case and they will take care of the rest. Captain Ju meets the prosecutor Min in her office. He wants Gil-ho as a suspect in Jangwoo's murder. Since he is not registered, the story will be convincing and the higher-ups also want the perpetrator to be him. Hearing that, Prosecutor Min feels that Captain Ju is planning to protect the real perpetrator. Captain Ju just laughs and he will provide the right script so that the indictment document is clear enough. Because this is an order from her superior, Prosecutor Tak. So, they just need to close the case properly. Junseo was beaten by his brother because he gave Junseo a position at the club, not to beat people there. Does he think his brother gave him the position so he could party and stone? He also asks why Junseo hasn't found Jenny yet. Junseo doesn't understand when offering Jenny puts their jobs at risk. If something bad happens to his brother, Junseo will also get it, so now look for Jenny. Gil-ho is shocked when he sees Jae-hee's hiding place with the window open when he enters, but he doesn't find Jae-hee. Then he gets a message to bring Jae-hee and video at Yuksan intersection at midnight. Prosecutor Tak asks Prosecutor Min to quickly finish the case well. Once the case is closed well, everything will go smoothly for her. Prosecutor Min feels that his superior knows what she wants. And Prosecutor Taek confidently feels that they are the same type of people. They only have pride, but want to be the top, so they pretend to have self-respect. Prosecutor Min wants Prosecutor Taek to promise one thing. Because there is no connection, she is willing to endure all kinds of things. But don't ever think that she can be thrown away. If Prosecutor Taek wants to stay with her, she needs to be compensated for taking the risk. Prosecutor Taek feels that the negotiation was started by those who have the offer, so just take the good part. Captain Jo goes to the Hyena Club and meets Junseo. It turns out that he is used to coming to the club because the girls already know him. Captain Jo asks Junseo not to get involved in trouble anymore because he can't protect him all the time. Then Junseo gives a watch as a gift to his son, who is studying in Boston. Captain Jo feels that if children are given watches as gifts like that, they can be spoiled. Then Junseo said that he would finish Gilho tonight. So don't turn off his phone, because Junseo will give him a good case. Captain Jo asked him to finish it until it's finished. Django gathered his people to look for Gilho, and if anyone succeed to find him, they would be given a reward of 1 million won. And they immediately did their job by asking their acquaintances. Then one of the women seemed to get something. Dongwoo checked it and asked her to reply to her chat. But the person she was chatting with guessed that he was a police officer. Dongwoo couldn't wait and replied to the chat himself. Then he told him that Saiki was also looking for him. Dongwoo was curious about who Saiki was, and they told him that he was a dealer who also worked for celebrities and they would meet tonight. Saiki was angry when she saw Gilho coming without bringing Jenny. Gilho just wanted to know the offer given by Junseo. Then Saiki sent a message to someone that Gilho came alone. While Dongwoo and Django were watching inside the car. When Django went out to find food, there was a car that looked suspicious because it contained people carrying baseball bats. And then Dongwoo followed them. Gilho wondered why people wanted to look for Jae-hee. He really wanted to know the reason. Saiki wanted to just finish without complicating things, so just brought Jenny and the video. The video they recorded, and it turned out that Gilho just found out about it. That's why they killed Yoonhwa. Suddenly there were people who came with baseball bats. And Saiki confidently mocked Gilho when Yoonhwa was begging to be spared. Captain Jo called Prosecutor Kim. He asked her to make an arrest warrant and they would arrest the suspect tonight. Because Prosecutor Taek didn't want the case to end well this weekend. Gilho was ganged up on by hired men using weapons. And when the incident happened, Saiki recorded it and forwarded it to Junseo. Gilho managed to defeat them all. But when he thought Junseo was in the black car, it turned out he was wrong. He was stabbed by Junseo's men. He tried to get up and fight them even though full of wounds. Then suddenly a car came and it turned out to be Dongwoo. He asked Gilho to get in the car. Gilho got into the car and they tried to escape. Junseo was very angry and asked them to catch Gilho by any means. And Saiki took the knife that had Gilho's blood and fingerprints. While Captain Jo also told Prosecutor Kim that their location had changed. She wondered what Captain Jo was actually doing. Junseo went into the shop to meet his brother who was eating there. They both chatted while remembering their childhood. That his brother would master hip-hop while Junseo would master dance. Suddenly, Junseo acted strangely by bowing to his brother and leaving. Then there was a boy who asked for his autograph. He was the boy who was in Junseo's car earlier. He suddenly stabbed Junseo's brother's neck until he fell. Junseo came back and saw his brother lying helplessly. Junseo took his cell phone and called Mr. Choi. He asked to take over Gangnam Trading Company. Dongwoo asked Gil-ho where Jae is. Then why did he put the girl's body there? Gil-ho lost a lot of blood and Dongwoo asked him to hold on because Dongwoo knew it wasn't Gil-ho who did it. What kind of police always try and fail? Does Dongwoo think Gangnam Trading Co. is gone because he caused trouble 3 years ago? Suddenly a police car approaches them and blocks their path. Captain Joe tells Dongwoo not to get in the way this time. Dongwoo wonders what's actually going on. When Gil-ho gets out of the car, Dongwoo tells him to get back in and suddenly there's a fellow police officer pointing a gun at Dongwoo. Of course, Dongwoo is very angry. How could a fellow police officer be targeted? When Gil-ho wants to jump they shoot him, then Dongwoo takes the gun and aims at the police so they don't approach Gil-ho. Captain Joe is very angry and asks Dongwoo not to interfere. Seeing him very aggressive, Dongwoo wonders who actually gave the order. At that time Prosecutor Kim was also there and suddenly Gil-ho jumped into the river. The Korean drama Gangnam B-Side is very exciting, so don't miss it. Watch the recap for episodes 3 and 4 on this channel.